Welcome to WTA Presents. I'm Chris Graham, your host, and we are so proud and fortunate to have with us Brett Leake. And Brett will be performing here on Saturday, August 4th. A return performance, Brett. Welcome to the show, first
Thanks.
off.
It's good to be with you, Chris.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to this.
So I say return performance because you performed here at the Gateway back in May.
Yeah, I loved it, too. We did what I'm performing is a one-man show called Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Tonight Show. And it's a show that I decided to try here because I'd heard such good things about the audiences. This is a nice space, the Gateway, and the audiences are very supportive and encouraging. And what we're doing is we're learning together whether I can take a stand-up comedy set, add some light stories to it, and play it out for a one-man show. And this will be our second time doing it.
So your comedy career, let's take a step back. We talked about the show, and we'll be talking about the show a lot as we go through this interview. Talk about the beginnings of your comedy career, way back when, if you said.
Sure. I remember first seeing a comedian when I came to UVA to see my favorite musical group, the Spinners. So it was 1981. And I was really excited about seeing the Spinners, but I had to sit through this thing before that. There were two guys who came out on stage and did stand-up comedy. Mac and Jamie is the name of the two-man show. And I remember it going well until it kind of went a little long, and then U-Haul, 9,000 people had started to talk. So my first experience was, that's interesting, but boy, does that look hard. I didn't realize that about a year later, when I got out of college and couldn't find work, that it might be something that would be appealing to me then. I had gone to school in Virginia at William & Mary and got a degree and was ready to get to work. And 82 is a very tough time to find work. I don't know. Do you get
Recession of '82, yeah. I was in elementary school actually then, but I remember lots of people losing jobs in the early years of the Reagan administration, yes. The recession, yes. Everything else. So not a great time to be going out in the job market.
Right, stagflation. Volcker runs interest rates up to knock down inflation, and in the process, unemployment rates go up to over 10%. And I'm one of these people who can't find a job. And incredibly, what happens when people feel stressed? Well, in this case, popping up around the country, almost like mushrooms after a rain, were these little brand new ideas called comedy clubs. And of all places, one opened up in downtown Richmond, Virginia. My brother went to a show, and this is his experience. On one of the very first weeks that this Richmond Comedy Club was open, my brother goes in with a buddy of his. They're UVA students. They're during break. There's only one table with any seats left at all. He goes to sit down. They watch the first two acts do their shows. When the headliner is introduced, the guy at their table gets up, does an hour and 15 minutes, comes back after the show, and my brother's able to reach across the table and say, "Nice set, Jay Leno." That's his first night in a comedy club.
Not a bad way to start.
My brother comes back and tells me about that, and I think that's something I'd really love to experience as well. And when I go, my sense was, I can't believe how much fun this is, to sit in a room with a room full of strangers and then within 2 or 3 minutes feel connected to them through laughter. And so I still couldn't find work, and I decided, well, I'll just try to treat myself to this environment, and the one way you do that is by going to an open mic night and giving it a try. And I did, and it didn't go too well. But incredibly, and we tell this story in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Tonight Show, I'm walking out when I hear a woman's voice behind me say, "You should try this again." And I turn around and I look at her and I say, "But I wasn't funny." And she said, "I noticed that." And from that moment, turning around and trying again, I couldn't find work in my chosen field, but this supportive, nurturing environment, a comedy club, was available to me. I kept going down there, and long story short, 9 years later, when my brother saw Jay Leno again, it was because he and I had flown to Los Angeles. We were in the green room waiting for the show to start because Jay Leno was guest hosting the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson that night, and Jay Leno had invited me 9 years later. 9 Thanksgiving weekends later, the tale of 2 Thanksgivings, gratitude cycle for me to be on his show. And that's the story we tell here.
I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and for those maybe who are, I know the minutiae, I guess, enough of stand-up comedy to know that the Tonight Show is the gig in stand-up comedy. You get invited to Tonight Show, that is a pinnacle of a career in a lot of senses. Talk to us about that experience if you could.
Oh, it really was. At the time, it was the stamp of approval. There weren't many ways to let someone know they had gotten to the point where they had met some standard of craftsmanship, and at that time it still was. And so what was it like? I had auditioned for the show, The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I had been told in a very polite way, not yet, you're not ready yet. I did a few other shows. Evening at the Improv was a show. There was another show called Comic Strip Live. And unbeknownst to me, in the audience the night I taped Comic Strip Live were some friends of Jay Leno's. I had not done particularly well that night, but they, along with Jay Leno, saw something that they liked, and Leno was guest hosting the Tonight Show not long after that again. And so he contacted the bookers for the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and he said to them, here's this guy I saw, I like what he's doing, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Said, yeah, we are familiar with him. We said, thanks, but not yet. He said, well, why don't we give it a try? Jay Leno did. So I got invited to go out to do the show, and Leno is a kind and giving guy, because my experience at the show was I was nervous. I didn't know how to handle this. I had done some TV, but nothing like that. And there my brother and I are sitting there in the green room, and Leno walks in. What does he do? He doesn't sit on a chair. He sits on the floor. He's dressed in the blue jeans and the blue denim shirt. And he says, look, you probably have had some tough times along the way and some tough shows, but this isn't going to be one of them. There are 500 people in the studio audience. There are 24 microphones. This is a choir for laughter. And he's about to walk out the door, and again, this is the story we tell on the show. He says, oh, by the way, are you going to do my favorite joke of yours? I said, what's that? He said, you know, the one about college. And he leaves it at that. And so what is it like when the music stops and Doc Severinsen and the band wind down and the curtains open? What do? I go out, I mark my 10 little steps. I stand, not on, but near Johnny Carson's star. I tell this joke to the 500 people. And what is the joke? I say, well, I've got a slight disability, a degree in economics. Don't feel sorry for me. When I'm out of work, I can figure out why. And there's a moment there where it's quiet, and then you hear one laugh. The laugh's not from in front of me and the 500 people, but from behind me at the desk. It's like, if you know choir, because we're talking about a choir, the C, the note of a C, that signals to the choir where the pitch is. I heard that note. It came from behind me. It was Jay Leno. And when the audience laughed, when he laughed, they knew it was okay to laugh. I would find out later on that the show had never had a comedian on with a physical difference before. They were a little concerned about how it would be perceived. That's how good we can get in our lives at handling problems in life. Jay Leno, a comedian, like other comedians, it's been his life writing jokes. Jokes begin with problems. Jokes are resolutions to the problems. He had gotten so facile at handling problems that when he had this little real-time problem in his life, how do we manage to let Brett get the support he needs while also recognizing that this is an unusual situation? He didn't put his arm around me and say, here's the problem. He told me what the solution was. I would only find out about it after I tell the joke. Mm-hmm. That's how good we can become at negotiating with others and allowing others to find what's best in them.
And he's giving you that stamp of approval, saying it's okay to laugh with you.
Right.
And that's a big part of your show, is I guess bringing people into your world and letting them understand a bit. And the humor breaks down some walls there.
It does. That's the idea. I would suggest, we don't go quite into it in the show, here, but there's a comedy spectrum. There's a series of wavelengths that we call comedy. It includes sarcasm, wit. Sometimes we're talking to just our friends and trying to appeal to them. Sometimes we're trying to be smart. But within that spectrum of comedy, there's something called humor. And that's what we're trying to do here at the Gateway. The humor is something that's empathetic. It deals with the human condition. It's about observation, and it's about discovery. We're trying to do those four things. And when we do those four things, we find that we're not only bringing out the best in ourselves, but the best in others. It's a kind of laugh where you go, oh, I haven't thought about it that way before. That reminds me of a situation in my own life. It actually connects people. And that's what we're trying to do as well, too. So I found that there was a little sliver within the comedy spectrum that not only appealed to me, but that I could actually get better at, too, practicing to do that. Part of the story that we tell in our show is the process of going from caring about thinking to thinking about caring. Looking is not the same as seeing. And among the ways to see in life, one is see for humor, look for humor. Learning to look for humor in my life made me better at thinking about thinking. And so that's what the process, we share part of that during the first part of the show. What's it like to think about thinking? What are the kind of jokes that come out of think about thinking? Well, you and I were talking before we started taping about what is it like school-wise. I think you went to school here in public schools in Virginia.
That's correct,
right?
yeah.
And I did too. And so, I mean, look at how hard people try to help us to learn. Elementary school, if I got tired of raising my hand in class, do you know what I would do? I would use the other arm to hold the tired arm up, only realizing later I could have put the tired arm down and just held up the fresh arm. Look at old fresh arm go.
Oh yeah, we all did that when we were kids. I'll hold an arm up like that, yeah.
All the other kids were pointing at us like this. They didn't know about the fresh arm. That's what I'm talking about. That's a moment of humor. Look what you did. You actually mimicked what I was doing. That's a moment of, that's what we're doing when we're talking about humor. Humor, thinking about thinking made me better at finding what I was capable of doing in my life. Another example, for instance, is, and again, it's about school. I felt like a fool sometimes in college because I would actually answer the teacher's rhetorical questions. He'd say, don't answer that one, Mr. Leake, that is a rhetorical question. I'd say, well, quit making them so easy. I mean, I didn't even understand the concept of the rhetorical question. If I'm having a hard enough time with the answer, don't make me pick out the questions.
You were economics, I was government politics, we had a lot of those same things.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
This is talking to you.
Yes, exactly.
This is where you live. So that's the idea. We talk about that, these shared moments, and I reach a point in the show where I'm actually learning that lesson from another comedian, another point of view that I never would have thought to allow in, but because humor connected us, I learned something from somebody that I would never have learned from. And how does the show end? The show ends like this. That evolution, once I get on the Tonight Show and I get that stamp of approval, I've learned to care about thinking enough. Is that enough of an achievement in life to become a comedian, to get a stamp of approval? Well, not really, because that's not our core need. We're not born into this life to be funny, to tell other people jokes. For me, it was later in life when my dad, who had the same type of muscular dystrophy I had, my dad needed help. Well, I can hardly see to myself, and the only other person I could see to in my life would be someone with very similar needs. And when my dad no longer could see to himself in the last 4 years of his life, well, I'm his roommate, I'm his housemate, and I was able to help. And my dad was able to live those last 4 years of his life. And so I tell a story about what it was like to buy supplies, what it was like to provide in-home care, and it's wonderful because people laugh along with that, and maybe one or two more people will find a way to make it possible for mom or dad to live at home in some final years, not for their good, but for my good or your good, because nothing serves us greater than serving someone else. That's our core need, and that's the last thing. Caring about thinking made me think about caring, and our core need in life. Nothing serves us more than finding a way to provide effective care to somebody else. What a great place to do that in Waynesboro. As I was getting out of my car today, I had the ramp out, I'm sitting in the chair, someone leans in and just says, "Can I help you?" No wonder the show is here.
Yeah.
What a great place to be.
I was going to, and the venue here too. You've performed obviously in front of big crowds, 500 people at the Tonight Show with 24 microphones. This environment here, we're sitting in the gateways. We're talking here, obviously, with the stage behind us. There's not people in the back row are just a few feet away.
Oh, it's incredible. It's intimate. There's no bad seat in the house. You're going to be sitting with people who are here for the same reason that you are, to have a clean comedy show that's from the heart, and you'll walk in not knowing anybody, and you'll walk out with a community of new friends.
So now, with WTA Presents here, we often have had musicians who are performing, and then we'll give them a chance to perform a song or two. We've talked about maybe having you do a couple of jokes as we're sitting here, and I'll be the audience. So
you'll be the audience?
Yeah.
Well, let's follow up on that theme from earlier. Then the thinking about thinking. What is that like? And how does that change as you get older? Because I'm 52 years old. This is the oldest I've ever been. It's impossible to act your age. You have no experience. By the time you know what to do, you're too old to do it. How do you do that? How do you make that adjustment? What's really involved with brain fitness? For instance, is it me or is it thinking that makes this hard? When I'm dialing a phone number that spells out a word and it takes longer. I mean, converting letters into numbers is algebra, and it's hard. I'm trying to order a pizza, and there's a quadratic equation standing in the way. Hold the pepperoni, I got to solve for y. I'm almost finished when I hear the phrase, if you would like to make a call, please hang up and try again. What is going on with my brain in moments like that? That's remarkable to me. There's
that hits home for me. I just turned 40 this year.
Is that right?
My wife's 35. She'll always have that over me that she's younger, and I still think of myself as probably 20 or 21. So that's okay, I guess.
Sure.
Maybe we'll always be immature, but I'm starting to realize that as I age, I'm still thinking of myself at least as the young guy.
Well, how about this? Do you remember this moment in school? If you were like me, you were one of the people who would kind of sit in the back real quietly, hoping everything would just pass by. And yet the teacher would say this to try to get us to think, let's call on someone who hasn't had a chance to participate. I would think, let's not. There's a good reason I'm not raising my hand. I don't know the answer. Let's go back to the original plan. Hand up, call on me, hand down, unavailable for comment. I have no statement to issue at this time. Thinking the rules have changed, next question, my hand goes up. Yes, Brett, what is it? I don't know. Why is my hand up? Because I don't know the answer. Put your hand down, Brett. We'll promise not to call on me. Those were great moments. How about this? Remember this? Standing at the, I remember the teacher would say, Brett's going to stay at the board until he gets it right. Oh, that's a good teaching strategy. Here's a problem I couldn't solve at home with the help of my dad, and now I'm standing before my jeering classmates. I'm sure it'll all come back to me now. I'm up there wondering how chalk sticks in the board, hoping my numbers fall off.
You now, in addition to having a math problem, you've got some psychological issues to deal with.
About
yeah,
that.
Pretty much, yeah.
That'd be something off the side.
Yeah. Trauma in addition to arithmetic.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Yeah.
We look for moments like that. And yet, during the course of all that, there were moments of light when we thought, you know what, we can make it. Science fair projects. Woo! My mom got an A, although she waited till the last minute. I told her to get on it. I said, all the other mothers have started. Where am I going to find a volcano recipe at this hour?
Paper mache. Where do you find that at the 11th hour, right? Yeah.
There's no way. She's put me in the lurch. So that's the idea, Chris.
Relate. Yeah, we relate to experiences, and we as the audience are participating because we're remembering Yeah, I remember science fair projects and how Mom waited too long to get around to doing them for me. Yeah.
So that's the idea, Chris. We talk about that. And that's not an experience that's separate to somebody with muscular dystrophy. Or, in my family's case, 10 people with muscular dystrophy. That's a cold win. But you don't let something like that make you feel like you're at the mercy. We have the ability to direct the events in our life. We have some control over our destiny, regardless of the circumstances in our life. But we do have to become active agents in our life, take responsibility for the choices we make, and then give ourselves every chance to make it work. Throw ourselves into it wholeheartedly.
Brett Leake will be here August 4th, a Saturday night, and more information on the Gateway website. You can access that at waynesborogateway.com, also waynetheater.org, and also more information on AugustaFreePress.com about the upcoming show. And, come out and enjoy and learn a little bit about yourself and about others.
And enjoy Augusta Free Press. It's a great site. And then your personal site is very good as well. So
thank you. That's the world according to ChrisGraham.com. Brett
very solid.
took a peek before he came in today. So
excellent columns, the private school column, the Waynesboro City Council column, and I'm just skimming the surface there. There's a book, I think, on U-Haul and University, very good stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed reading that. You're really good at what you do, and I really appreciate that you found time so that I could talk about something that I really love doing.
Well, we feel lucky to have Brett here, and we'll have him here again in a couple of weeks, from the taping of the show at least, if you're watching this before August 4th. We want you to be out here for the show, be a part of the audience, and participate with everybody here for the event. Well, Brett, thank you.
You're welcome.
So
My
much
pleasure.
for your time.
Now look at that. I even used Fresh On there. We'll use Fresh On.
Well, for WTA Presents, I'm Chris Graham. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.